Right, okay. This is different from Venus energy, so it may feel different, but we're going to end up in the same sort of place. So, alongside... okay, the Venus transit is something that happens once every 105, 121, somewhere 120 years-ish. So it's a rare event. There is another rare event, and it so happens that in June, these two rare events are pretty well running in parallel. And this second rare event has to do with Uranus and Pluto. Now, the Uranus-Pluto cycle has 127 years, so it's not dissimilar in many ways. And it's incredibly important. Uranus, uranium, Pluto, plutonium, and there they come together, or they clash, or whatever they're doing. So just in that symbolism alone, these are powerful, powerful forces and energies. Uranium, plutonium. You know, these are cataclysmic forces. These are transformative forces. Okay, so we've got another grand cycle going on. And Uranus, Pluto together are forces which tend to shape our civilization, our culture, our consciousness, our history. They are incredible forces that impact us individually and also collectively. They are collective energies, very much so. And I've put the chart here for back in 1965 because this is when the present cycle began. Now then, this is the first complete Uranus-Pluto cycle we have ever known in history. To me, pretty big stuff. It's like, whoa. My bottom's got very wiggly this week.
Sorry, Jackie. So can you explain that bit again so I didn't get it?
About the bottom being wiggly.
That
How do
bit.
you know about that in history?
Because Pluto was discovered in 1930.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Before that time, yes, as a planet out there, or sometimes they even debate that it's a planet, but the force, this has the power of plutonium, this thing. The force that it is has presumably always been there. But it has, and when a planet is discovered, when a new planet is discovered, it begins to play out in our lives, it begins to impact our consciousness. So it's like a new element entering into our consciousness, 1930. You know, the sort of cycle that is more familiar through the phases of the moon. You have the conjunction, which is the coming together of the new moon. The next bit is the first quarter, and then you have the opposition, which is the full moon. You have a last quarter, or a waning square, and then you come back to conjunction. That's the complete cycle.
That has enlightened me. Could you just say that again?
I'm delighted to enlighten you.
Where these things are coming from.
Okay, a natural cycle of any pair of planets, but it's most obvious to us with the moon because that's what we see, and it changes shape and brilliance and all the rest. The conjunction is the conjoining, the coming together. That's when you get the new moon, the first seeding of whatever that cycle is. Then it goes around 90 degrees, and you get a very significant point, which is the first quarter, the waxing quarter. Then it goes round again, so we're actually exactly opposite the starting point, 180 degrees. It's your full moon,
So
okay?
that's opposition, isn't it?
Yeah,
what
opposition.
What was the first quarter moon?
First quarter is a waxing square, a growing square, an increasing square.
Right.
Then you get the opposition, which is the full moon. Then it begins to wane, and you get another square, which is your waning square, your dying square, and then you come back to the end and the beginning again. So that's a generic cycle. It applies with all the planets. So prior to 1930, there was no possible way a Uranus-Pluto conjunction could impact us individually or collectively in terms of our consciousness, our evolution, our development. It just wasn't on our radar. 1930, Pluto is discovered, so this is beginning to come in. 1932, it reached that first quarter. Remember, this is 127 years to make the whole journey. 1932, it was actually finishing something off that had begun way back before. I can't remember the exact date, but it doesn't matter. And then this, 1965, is the first ever conjunction of Uranus and Pluto in our history that impacts us in a conscious way. It's a new era of our evolution, it's a new phase of our growth. We have new tools, as human beings, we have new tools to operate with. Now the conjunction, this phase, is the seeding. It's when it begins, it's when the seed begins to germinate, but it's under the soil, it's hidden, you can't see it. It carries a certain quality, a certain character, and the character of this conjunction is in Virgo. So it has a Virgoan quality, which I'll explain in a minute. Incredibly relevant relationships. It's incredibly related to what we have just been saying about our sense of not good enough, not perfect enough, not adequate enough. Oh, poor little old me, I can't possibly. Something new is beginning to come into being, and it coming in via Virgo. It's a seeding. The seed's under the ground. It's got a lot of growing to do before you even know it's there. It's hidden, it's tucked away. As it comes to the first quarter, which is where we're at now, where we are at in June the 24th this month, these two were together in Virgo here, and they move on, but they move on at different rates. And they've come around, and they're making that first quarter, that 90-degree angle, okay? We now have Pluto in Capricorn, Uranus in Aries, but we still have the flavour of Virgo. This is a Uranus-Pluto cycle in Virgo that's unfolding. That's the flavour of the thing. So we need to ask ourselves, what the heck is this cycle all about? What is it that has seeded already? But here, at this first quarter, the shoot is beginning to rise above ground. We can begin to see it. It's beginning to manifest. It has been entirely hidden up until now, but now we're beginning to see it. It's coming into being. It's literally birthing above ground. It's birthing in manifestation, which is very interesting because Virgo, in esoteric astrology, is the sign of the Virgin Mother. It's the sign of the womb, of the birthing, of the gestation period where a seed has been sown and it has reached its seedbed, if you like. It has united with the egg. It has settled in the womb. It's growing, it's developing, but it has a way to go yet. When it reaches this first square, that's it. Now the birthing that is related to Virgo, yet again, don't forget, if we remember from yesterday, we talked about this mutable cross in the heavens, whatever they were, Gemini, Virgo, Sag and Pisces. So Virgo's on this cross, so we're still talking about the evolution of consciousness. Virgo is the birthplace of the Christ consciousness, of the Christ life, which is us, soul and personality joined, us living as higher selves on the earth. Now this has been going on since 1965. Huge amount of innovation and revolution and change was going on during the 60s. This Uranus-Pluto thing, it isn't just a one-off. Somebody mentioned this a while back. It's a phase. You begin to feel something, maybe years in advance, several years in advance, then it comes to intensity, and then it fades out again. So it's a phased in growth. So Uranus-Pluto was really operational through most of the 60s. So you get a lot of kids born round about mid-60s who are, in their own sweet way, shakers and movers, revolutionaries, planters of new ideas, of new experiences, of new awakenings. Uranus is the planet of awakening. It's the planet which relates to the crown chakra of the, and in quotes here, the idea that is in the mind of God coming into being. Yeah? So it's us at our crown chakra. Pluto is our base chakra. Here, for the first time ever in 1965, crown and base come into alignment, come into connection. When the base comes on stream, the energy can arise and fall, and arise and fall, and different circuitry gets set up in the head and through the thymus and the vagus nerve and all sorts of things, all things join. So this is what's happening. This is a different circuitry that's happening. Now, Uranus Pluto has a sense of revolution about it. They're both revolutionaries. Uranus tears down the old. It can't stand restraint. It's the planet of liberation, of freedom, of absolute truth of being, of authenticity. No crap. Pluto is an amazing energy. It's often described as the energy of death and rebirth and transformation, which it undoubtedly is, but more. It's a first ray energy, which is the creative power that drives all manifestation, the great creative power that lies behind, standing behind, informing all that we are. It's the energy that drives life into expression. It's an almighty force. Yes, it's transformative. It can tear stuff away. It surely gets rid of the crap. But interestingly, in view of how we've been talking over the last 24 hours, it has the sense of revealing, of arising from that which is hidden into illumination. Uranus is a planet of illumination. So something that has always been, maybe, but been hidden and buried and deep down and within, is arising and literally coming to light. There is an illumining process going on. Does this ring bells? It does very much. With the Venus transit, okay. So things may tear down. You may lose things. You may be on unfamiliar ground. Things may go out of your life. Things may return to your life. People you once knew and have gone out of your life may return unexpectedly. Unexpected things happen. Old ways, old paradigms, anything old and stagnant and lifeless and worn out has to go. At this time, anything that isn't serving the evolutionary needs, not only of us as individuals, but of our planet, absolutely will struggle like buggery to sustain itself. It can't. Its day is done.
Yeah.
So whether it's our relationships, our finances, our jobs, our home, whatever it is that we're clinging on to like fury, that no longer serves, cannot be sustained because there is no life going into it. The life, the Pluto, is now going into the Uranus, into the new, into the... You have the god of the heavens, the god of the underworld, joined. So you have the opportunity, the opening, the wonderful manifestation now, the coming into birthing and being, this new human, who has complete clarity, who has great depth of perception. We have all our equipment now. We are equipped, we are joined up. And if we're ready, if we're willing, we can go for it. And this is what we all have as the dearest of the dear in our heart, whether we acknowledge it or not. We may think we want a sweet life and a lovely home and a loyal husband and all the rest of it, but actually the dearest dear in our heart is our marriage with our higher self. There is no other fulfillment that comes anywhere close. So you have these two. Now then, remembering that these two are back in Virgo, and we all know what Virgo's about. Virgo is to do with how things integrate, come together and work together. There's a great revolution going on in how things work. So this is why we're seeing the world of work in a state of chaos. It's disintegrating because it's an old paradigm. And Christine, yesterday, before we came here, we were talking about this, and Christine said, yes, but you have to find a job and you have to work and you have to earn a living. And that's the old way. The Virgo way, the old Virgo way, was effortful. The new joined up Christ consciousness, new energy way has not that sense of hard work. If it's hard work, there's something amiss. It needs to be easeful now, because our whole concept of how things work, what work is about, how we work, how we operate, how the world works, everything is in a state of complete revolution and transformation. That's one aspect of it. Another is, and it arose, it's been absolutely delightful to me how over the last 24 hours people have just been speaking this stuff. without realising, we're obviously getting it, we're attuned with it and we're expressing it.